So yesterday we made a video talking about the top 10 changes coming to what we thought was going to be the next update for Modern Warfare, and well, that patch and update came way quicker than I imagined, as in a few hours after that video went live, around 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, midnight Pacific, and elsewhere in the world, Title Update 1.08 went live for Modern Warfare. It was about 3.4 gigabytes in size, not quite as large as the other updates that we've had as of recently, but it brought with it a decent amount of fixes, a bunch of things that we can talk about here and break down all of what changed. And of course, that's what we'll be doing in this video. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What are you guys looking for here out of this update? Is there anything in particular you really like? Anything you're not really too fond of? And of course, if you're new to the channel, do be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare. But anyways, let's talk about the update here and what I think is probably some of the most important things starting here at the beginning. The first of which being the fact that we saw some fixes for those officer rank challenges. Now, if you missed yesterday's video, you might not know why this is a big issue, why fixing specific challenges is anything that requires a major overhaul to it, and so that one challenge or two gets fixed out. The problem was that if you were rank 155 and you had a certain amount of officer challenges already completed, there was some weird bug that was seemingly random. It hit some people, it didn't, but it would completely crash your game every single time you try to load into anything. I'm talking single player, co-op, or multiplayer. The footage on screen you're seeing right now is courtesy of my good friend Ryan, or Prestigious Key, who had this issue for the past 7 to 9 days, I think, and that was something that he could not enter literally any portion of the game because of this bug. And this was said to have a fix coming over the course of the last couple of days, to which it seemingly was just strung out there, dangling right in front of the players that had this problem, right in front of them for quite some time, but it was finally fixed out apparently as of this update and last night. So if you had this issue, you should be able to jump back on and play the game once again here, finally, for however long that may have taken you. But that was absolutely huge to see these changes made to these officer challenges, and of course, to allow players to play the game again. But outside of that, let's talk about some weapon tuning and adjustments here. Probably what the majority of you guys are affected by, seeing that a bug that crashes your game isn't something that is affecting 100% of the players, only a small portion of them. But weapon tuning, that affects everybody. So in today's weapon update tuning pass, we ended up seeing adjustments to the ARs, the 7.25, the M4, the FAL, the EV-14, the reserve ammo for various weapon classes, and a little bit of some adjustments to the riot shield. Now, let's start out with the ARs, because this is probably one of the ones that affects a lot more than you may think. The M4 in particular was mentioned out of the AR, so I guess we'll start with that one. The M4 had an increase to its hipfire spread, as well as a decreased damage to the head. In terms of hipfire, what you'll see on screen right now is actually some sort of reference imagery we'll use for the rest of the ARs when talking about the hipfire as well. But the M4, the green crosshairs that you'll end up seeing are the pre-patch hipfire spread, and the red is the post-patch or newer hipfire spread here with it. So you can see that it was slightly adjusted where it's a little wider. Is it something that will make a huge difference? Well, that depends on how close quarters you are, but that is something that was adjusted as well. In terms of the damage, this is where I'll start to notice some things as well. Thanks to my good friend JGod, fantastic YouTuber, you should totally check him out. He ended up checking some of the damage properties, to which before the update, it ended up having body shots at range of 28, 23, and 18, with a headshot damage with multipliers of 1.6 on those regular shots being 45, 37, and 29, to which after the update, it ended up having the same damage property and profiles to the body, but the head had a lessened multiplier with it. So the headshots aren't as lethal as they were before. It dropped from a 1.6 times multiplier to a 1.5 times, making each shot at the various damage ranges being 42, 34, and 27. So it needs 2 headshots to reduce the TTK at close to medium range, and still needs 1 to reduce the TTK at medium to far. So while it only changed 1 number statistically speaking in terms of that multiplier, it does adjust the meta of how the weapon will play and how effective it can be. Now, that's the M4, which was the most substantially changed out of the rifles, but every other rifle had some slight tweaking here to it, or for the most part, most rifles did. That being the hipfire adjustments to the rifle classification. Now, the FAL is relatively the same with the Odin and the FAMAS, but the SCAR, the AK, the M4, the Kilo, and the M13 were all adjusted to have widened hipfire spreads, so they're not as good close quarters as they were before if you're hip firing. Now, Now, that might be a little bit frustrating if you're somebody that's going for those hipfire kill challenges for your camos, to which that's something you can mitigate it a little bit more by using, say, the lasers and various grips in your attachments, but it is still something that you'll definitely notice when going for those. But what you'll see on screen right now, and have been seeing on screen, is a pass through of the various different weapon adjustments, and again, that compass of green being the older hipfire spread and red being the nerfed hipfire spread, which is after this update. So that should hopefully give you a relative comparison and basis of what you can expect going from what you were playing with last night compared to what you'll be playing with from today forward. So hopefully that's a decent illustration of what you can expect, but wanted to share that here with you guys as well. In terms of other specific weapons being adjusted, well, the 725 got a second pass on its weapon tuning. That is something that it ended up saying that it reduced the range, but according to my friend Exclusive Ace, it apparently has an unintentional buff as well. Personally, I haven't tested out too many in-game damage properties. I was just kind of going around and trying to test the ranges in Speedball, shooting at some of the firing range pieces, so like you, I'll have to wait for his breakdown and analysis of that to fully understand what was changed and what that unintentional buff may be, but stated within the update notes itself was that it had a reduction in its range. Now, other specific weapons that got adjusted here include the FAL as well as the EBR-14, both of those having an increase to the ADS speed, and the FAL having another additional piece that will fix out its recoil. So in terms of the ADS speeds here for this, the FAL, starting with that, is now just a tad quicker. Beforehand, it was half a second flat pre-patch, and just about a hair quicker now post-patch. So when you see them side by side, you can definitely notice the adjustment, but if you're going and simply just playing with it, it might not be the most noticeable thing. Same thing goes with the EBR as well. This one had the same exact interval adjustment in terms of its timing, so it was increased by the same amount as the FAL, and again, side by side, you may be able to notice the difference, but if you end up playing in-game, it might not make the biggest difference to you, but you do have a little quicker of a draw when going into a gunfight. Now, as for the FAL specific change to the recoil, well, as we showcased before, the recoil was absolutely nuts if you had a decent trigger finger. It would literally send you sky high. That didn't have any recoil cap on it before, but now it does, to which it's relatively manageable. Still, it does kick you up quite a bit, but it is something that doesn't kick you sky high, so therefore should give you at least a little bit more of a competitive advantage in gunfights. But that was something that was adjusted as well. And finally, talking about the last weapon adjusted, or I guess melee here with this, was that of the Riot Shield, where it fixed a couple of bugs where players using the Riot Shield would not take any explosive damage during certain situations, and it also fixed an issue where the Riot Shield would stow on the player's back when using stim. So those were adjusted as well, but that rounds out the weapon tuning. Map-specific changes, we actually had a little bit of an adjustment to the map of Piccadilly, everybody's favorite map in this game, I'm sure. But they ended up saying that there was a spawn tuning where in TDM and Domination, some of the logic was adjusted. I haven't been able to play on Piccadilly just yet to know exactly how true that is or how effective it is, but they made an adjustment there as well. And then Domination specifically ended up having the relocation of the B flag, which is interesting to me because it was something that was, of course, the more open spot. It was not necessarily the middle, which is where B flag predominantly always is, and it's now been moved, which seems like a little closer to the middle point. If you actually didn't know, the distance between A flag and C flag comparatively with B in the middle wasn't actually the middle. It was almost double the length. I think it was from B to C. I get those mixed up sometimes, which flag is flipped over, but one of those flags was way further away from B than A was, so it gave kind of an unfair advantage when it came down to capping that flag initially off of the start. So that's something that was adjusted as well. Then we ended up seeing that we had another Footstep audio update. Now, what they listed in the update notes was kind of confusing, but Joe Seacott ended up posting on the update thread as a comment saying that the wording was a little tricky, to which he then clarified a little bit that there's now different sounds for crouch walk, jog, sprint, and the other various position types. Before this update, ADS movement used the walk audio and crouch used crouch. So therefore, if the player moved faster than a certain speed when ADSing, the walk could change to a jog sound. The same was true then for crouching when moving faster in a crouch with an SMG and some lightweight attachments that could push you into a walk sound instead of your regular crouch that you were in. So this update ended up adjusting those values and adjusting those audio files that play, and so it should be a little bit more fixed out now and should be more true to whatever position you're actually in. The final things that we'll talk about here in this update and what changed was that of some weapon level adjustments as well as camo challenge fixes. Some things that in the grand scheme of things weren't really the worst things in the world, but good God, were they annoying to have to see. The first of which being that weapon levels are now fixed out apparently across the board from a top-down level from what you see at the very beginning of your creative class, and also once you go a little deeper in the gunsmith as well. So those should be fixed out for you guys. And then the camo challenges now seemingly display the proper tracking. They were tracking beforehand in the background, but they would showcase on the progress bars 0 out of 10, 15, 20, 25, whatever number you were going for. And so therefore you could still get those camos unlocked. You just had no idea where you actually were in that camo challenge progression. So seeing that fixed out now brings me back to wanting to grind out some camos now that I actually know where I'm at. So I'm happy with that change, but that's the update here that was at hand as of last night. Honestly, not as much in terms of what I was expecting. While it hit most of what we talked about in yesterday's video, it didn't hit everything, which kind of surprised me given the fact that developers publicly acknowledged some of the issues that are still at hand. But that's the update and that's everything that changed. So do let me know your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. Is there anything in particular that you're really looking forward to here out of this update that you're ready to jump back into the game for? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts down there in the comments. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare, anything regarding updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. We got you covered. So any of that interests you, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected from outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. If you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.